So we get Paladin trees tonight when the alpha build comes up. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. And I'm probably going to do a video on it. I also have a coaching video I need to do today. Part of me was thinking about doing it on stream, but I think I'm not. Unless you guys are interested in watching me critique a plus 16 Prop Paladin. You'll need somebody to watch while you eat. Yeah, you guys want me to review a Prop Paladin? You guys cannot bully him, though. Only I'm allowed to bully him. Just me. Just me, myself, and I. What time is it? It's 5:30. Yeah, I could do it. I guess I can do it. I might do. I'll do the review quickly. I'm gonna just do I'll make a separate video since like I'll probably have music and stuff playing, and I might miss some stuff because I want to get into more detail about it. But okay, let's do this quick little review, and then I'll probably call the stream. All right, sound good? We'll do a little coaching session, VOD review, right here, right now. Okay, so for a little bit of context, I'm gonna turn on my music for a second though, because I'll get into it and then I'll forget what I'm saying. All right, a little bit of context. Messaged me this morning, asked me if I can review his footage. He just got KSM, so a little bit of a newer tank is how I would put it. It's a 3-chested 16 Necrotic Wake, so really fucking good. Obviously, the run was made up of a very classic comp. All right, first thing, what do we think of his yeah, dude, huge KSM. What do we think of his UI? Here, let me fast forward. Like, what do we think of his UI so far? Because the UI for me is like a pretty big indicator. Like, not that my UI is perfect, but I feel like your UI as a tank or a Mythic Plus player needs to provide different like insight into what's going on. Like, you need to be tracking cooldowns, you need to be able to clearly see like nameplates and names and what things are targeting. Like, you need to have that information being displayed to you so you know what's going on, because that lets you react, right? So I've watched this through at least once already. So he is running it's an Arms Warrior, Serve Hunter, Outlaw Rogue, if I'm not mistaken, which is fine. And then here, what I was doing earlier is his name is Scrubbin from Dalaran. Big old Dal. So he got KSM in this video. Awesome. Big grats. And this was the run specifically. It was done last night. So Resto Druid, Outlaw Rogue, Serve Hunter, Chicken Nuggets. Dude, great name. You should get rid of the right chat panel in the LVUI details so it takes up less of the screen. Yes, I agree. So the group he was running with was also people who were fairly like KSM-ish. And the Hunter was like 3100. So Hunter kind of fucking was big dick Chad. So coming back here, yes. So the loot tray table and the chat is a little cluttery for me, or like it takes up too much room for no reason. And that's a big problem for me, is like that's why I have that black bar at the bottom of my screen, is I can actually move stuff off my screen so my viewport is bigger. I can see like to either side, so I can actually see what's going on and what's like moving. Yes. So that was the very first thing I noticed, and it was like right away, because like at the very start of the video, he throws out a fucking Blessed Hammer, and in my head I was like, oh no. Oh no. For anyone who doesn't play Paladin, Blessed Hammer is a talent option on your first row, and it competes with Holy Shield. There we go. Oh my god, I'm an idiot. So Holy Shield is being ran by 100% of Paladins. Blessed Hammer was the play pre-Season 3, because Season 3, what it did is it gave us our tier set, which the tier 2, or the 2 set, sorry, words. The 2 set increases your block chance after using Shield of Righteous by 4% for 12 seconds second to 3 times. So you have 12% increased block chance. Yeah, it's now 99.99% after this video. The benefits of Blessed Hammer is it gives you more auto attack reduction, but the problem is you're still going to now be taking full magical damage because you can't block magical attacks. And Holy Shield also reflects a portion of that damage back at the attacker. So because your tier set is interacting with block, your Holy Shield is now going to actually be amplified. So now Holy Shield is going to be a better choice instead of Blessed Hammer. It is weird, because what's nice about Blessed Hammer is you can actually ramp Holy Power running into a pull. You know what's crazy about this is we haven't even started the key yet. We're literally talking about a talent. You can pre-ramp your Holy Power running in, but you're losing out on a very significant damage reduction and damage by not running Holy Shield. And healing, essentially. Also, UI can be cleaned up just a little bit. I think this is clean. Like, this is really good. You obviously have your own setup. For those, obviously, who can't tell, he has all of his action bars down here. but they only appear when he hovers over them, which I think is really interesting. And it looks like this is just a weak aura package. I'm sure it's either on Wago or you set this up yourself, but it's really good. I don't mind so much about this, but I just don't want cluttered. Like, cluttered tank, like, you need information. You need to be able to actually, like, see visuals. Yeah, so it's cleaner than Maz's, it's cleaner than mine. It's very neat, but neat always doesn't mean better. But mostly UI is subjective. The one thing that also bothered me is his buffs and stuff are down here, which some of them go underneath his timer. This, actually, I might turn this into the video, fuck it. The buffs were a little weird during the pull, but he's running scale. Here, let's look at his build really quick. He's running a scale and an elegy. Elegy's fine. Static heroic version, blood spreader scale. I think at the time was 246. That's fine. It gives you a defensive option. It gives you snap threat. Fine. You're running punish the guilty, which is good. It gives you that shield right damage affected by judgment. This is more for single target, but you're also running vengeful shock, so you're running triple potency with Mechanikos. I feel like there's another. I think you want to run the divine toll one though, instead of punish the guilty. Punish the guilty is fine for tyrannical weeks, which it was. But I think Punish the Guilty gives you more... Not Punish the Guilty. The Ring and Clarity is always going to be the play. Punish the Guilty is actually very rarely ran. So I would trade it out. Oh, he's not running Triple Potency? What's he running? 1, 2... Oh, I assumed he was for some reason. Yeah, so... Because if you go down left side, that's where you get Triple Potency at the very start of the tree for Miko. Papa Mykonos. Papa Braun. Anyways, like, the rest of your talents are fine. You're running First Avenger. The only other thing I would maybe say is, like, you could probably not run Consecrated Ground. And you could run Hand of the Protector for group healing, but it just depends, right? This is good on bursting weeks because you can help recover, like, a crit of the Hand of the Protector on a low target, like, friend is going to be like a lay on hands, like, if you crit. And more often than not, you don't need a kite as often in Consecrated. Like, with Consecrated Ground, if you're running with a slow in your group, which you should be if you have a rogue, they have crippling poison. And then you also have like Tar Trap and Piercing Howl. You probably don't need the extra slow from Consecrated Ground, so you can run the Hand of the Protector. All right, now let's actually get into the footage of the key. So he said triple pull at start, give me a second for aggro. Totally fine, let your group know what you're doing. I never do that because I'm bad. But letting your group to, like, telling them to hold off is fine. You're moving back to your concentration, which is good. What I do like is your trackers down here for your buffs. This is good. You can see that you have Iron Bar Consecration. What a lot of Paladins, I think, do in, like, not well is they don't stand in their Consecration. Like, Consecration's massive for block, and it's a defensive. Like, you're taking less damage when you're sitting in your Consecration. So getting a good tracker to show if you're standing in it is really good. Does it glow differently when you move out of it? I didn't catch that. Oh, so it does. It turns gray. So this is a really good tracker, actually. So he's pulling these blight bags, I think, over into this pack here. And this is fine because the blight bags, when they die, they do damage. They apply like a disease to everything, which is good. It does damage to your group, but it also does damage to enemies. So it's good for getting this pack down quicker. He did try to pull the blight bags here, but the problem with doing this is when he went to target them, you can see right here, he targets this one in the back. And what's going to happen is if you target the one in the back, it's close enough to proximity for this necromancer dude, and you end up pulling him. So if you threw your judgment at the closer one, it would have been fine, but you didn't. You threw judgment at the far one, and it's gonna pull the gatekeeper. So this is a big oopsie for sure. Gatekeepers are real scary. Well, it's scary if you don't know how to handle them. It's a healer thing, right? There's this thing called Clinging Darkness. He's casting it right now. It's a debuff that keeps ramping up, and then when it's dispelled, it jumps to a new target. This pull's like a little chaotic just because of all the soldiers and stuff coming in, but he had Divine Toll for it, which is fine. Ardent Defender was up. Could have extended it for a few more seconds there, probably. But it looks like it's fine. Now you have more soldiers coming in. This pull's kind of just like a shit show, to be honest. But it's not that bad. You're getting a lot of resets on your shield, but you're still opting to use Blessed Hammer instead in your rotation, which is not great. Like, Blessed Hammer is great, and you want one active if you're running it. 1, you shouldn't be running it though. 2, you want to prioritize shields almost all the time. You get free silences from it. You obviously have Holy Power Generation. It's going to do more damage than Blessed Hammer in almost all situations. And it's, I mean, I think I mentioned it already, but it silences things, so you can be aiming at these like Fleshcrafters and stuff to keep them silenced forever. Not forever, but consistently. I think that he should have done a 4-pack pull to avoid the right pack and go straight to boss. Pull bags at stage. Pull 3 pats in 1 pack since you have so much stronger hunter in this key. He does, but if this is a pug, right, you can't assume. Like, going in, he's like, yeah, you have a 3100 hunter, but trust me, dude. I'm sure you can relate to this, Jade. There are some pretty sus hunters out there, right? There's some hunters that are like 34, 3500 who are really bad. And like, they're kind of carried either by their group or they're carried by like accidental damage, but I've met some pretty bad hunters. This hunter ended up being really, really good throughout the whole key. He was just like nuking every pull, but you can't assume that, right, with everything. The gatekeeper was an accident. Pulling in the extra soldiers is okay, but I wouldn't have done it until at least one of the harvesters were dead, or you pull it into boss or something like that. Pulling it all into this corner is a little sketchy, especially with a lot of people using their CDs in the first pull. So it looks like Chicken Nuggies pull up the spear. I think in this run, they end up using most of their weapons at the end of the dungeon. They hold everything for like the last couple bosses, which I've seen pugs do. It's a fine strat. It depends on how comfortable you are with the first couple bosses and stuff. So you're gonna activate Goliath here, which is good. I hate this waiting game. Typically what you want to do is you want to try to activate this like while you're finishing the pull, so you can just like grab orbs and go and not have to wait around, but it's still not bad. Blight bag's coming in. So this is opting for like a slightly smaller pull for boss, which is fine on Tyrannical, fine in pugs. Whoa, Drifter though is kind of sus. You guys definitely want like Vi here. And it goes down almost immediately. Big speed buffs now. And everyone's sitting in melee, so it's good. The one thing that I'm not a big fan of with this footage, which is something that I normally only do footage reviews for Patreons, but I haven't had any Patreon requests, and this just gives me something to do until Dragonflight. An action tracker. It's really hard to tell what abilities you're hitting in what order specifically without looking and like hard staring at these procs, but something I definitely want to focus on more in this video is talking about just like general positioning. So right here is a great example. Melee DPS you should try to leave room for your melee DPS to comfortably move around the boss. You have good spacing between the boss and the pool behind him, but not being able to like get around to the side of the stage is a little difficult. And at least when I'm DPSing keys, I personally like to be able to freely move, depending on like if I get procs or like when I'm trying to drop like any kind of AoE on the ground, it's not going to clip on the stage here. So maybe having him a little bit over, but overall the positioning is pretty much fine. The Heaving Wretch is aimed back at the old pools, which is fine. At the stage would have also been good because then they would have been stacked under a boss and then could have been just cleaved down even faster. Making sure they're all stacked, fetid gas goes off in the same spot, and then we're moving back. So really good job there. Saying repositioning your consecrations. I think a lot of times what paladins forget to do is like the consecration. I'm not sure how to describe it, but like it's a major part of your mitigation as a prop paladin. And people who run out of it and then forget to drop it or like don't keep repositioning it, or just like they suffer a lot. And that's why paladins will fall over. If you're ever in a group with a paladin and they instantly just get obliterated, it's probably because they ran out of their consecration. More than likely, because it's whatever your mastery value is, which I don't see on his screen. It's like 10%. It's about a 10% to 15% damage reduction. But yeah, pretty good job here with this. So we're gonna, I think it's a standard route, right? You're gonna hug up onto stage. You're gonna kind of just like hold W through most of the key. You guys get here, which is fine. You're not casting Judgment enough. Judgment's really, really strong. For holy power generation, it also makes targets take more damage. You're oftentimes sitting on your Judgment. You can see that here. You just now use it. You pretty much want to use it on CD because it hits for, at least it should hit for like 10k, depending on, it depends on your gear, right? But it hits really hard and it makes then things take more damage from your spenders. And then with the legendary Bulwark, you're amping up your Shield of the Righteous based off of how many targets you hit with your Avenger Shield. So Judgment and Avenger Shield should be used more, and that's why you also don't run Blessed Hammer, because you don't need to. You're getting less damage from it, less healing from it, and it's actually, you're spending too much time casting Blessed Hammer. I will admit though, Blessed Hammer looks fucking cool. It's very like Diablo-esque. So in the footage, I'm not sure if you were saying this during your key run, Dan, when you eventually watched this. You mentioned like you thought someone else was going to activate the Goliath, and then that's why you pulled these in first. You meant to pull them here, I assume. So that's why this was a little bit late. It's fine to do either way. Like, it's fine to pull that guy here. It's just 2-target cleave is more often than not very inefficient for most DPS outside of like Arms Warriors and Destro Locks. Destro Locks can obviously Havoc. You have sweeping strikes from Arms Warriors. Hunters can kind of do it with like Marksman Hunters, but you have survival in your groups, and none of this information matters. And that's really good. So you're going to go get the orb here. I really don't want to focus too much on the actual key itself, and I want to focus more on like the actual gameplay of the tank. Because again, this key is irrelevant. By the time I post this video, it's going to be relevant for what, 6 days? Kind of crazy. So Sorcerer is going to come in slowly but surely. That's when you definitely want to throw your Avenger Shield out there to make sure it's silenced all the time. And then right here, also in the audio, you guys can't hear it, but he mentions like, hey, we're going to miss the fear because we have no kicks ready. I think you accidentally, like, you went to kick something else. So the fear did go off. You can also bank shields for that. So if you know that you're not going to have a kick for something, you can save a shield once you have your shield proc. So that's like the weird thing that's a little bit more, that has like fluctuation in your rotation, is like if you know you need to kick something in a second or two, hold onto your shield, which goes against what I was just saying. And then this is really embarrassing. So you're talking about like invis potting here, and you have a rogue in your group. And you bomb an invis pot. This made me laugh the first time I watched it. Waste of an invis pot, but not a big deal. The rogue could have got you guys through just fine. Benefits of having rogue. This season was weird because obviously WoE existed, and WoE does exist, but having a rogue is really, really beneficial because you have access to that shroud every 6 minutes. Marauders are fine. You guys don't have orb any longer, so the shields you got to make sure. No, you still have orb. I can't see. This is the problem. It's like I was looking for this earlier. Like it's hard to see where your buffs are because they're underneath your tracker, your key timer tracker. Consecration being moved consistently. You're sitting on wings, which is weird. So I know why you're sitting on wings, but wings is something you want to send always. And the reason why is because you're probably running Righteous Protector, I'd imagine. And Righteous Protector gives you cooldown reduction on Ancient Kings and Avenging Wrath when you spend Holy Power. So essentially the name of the game is like spend as much Holy Power as possible and hit everything on cooldown, both Ardent Defender and Avenging Wrath. So outside of that, you're sitting on it for a bit. Healer's mana 0%. Oh, there it goes. Now it's updating. Oh, it's like not saying 100. It's just like straight up saying 0. I'm assuming he's full. Interesting. Yeah, that warrior did no damage to that mob. He was like just probably trying to pad. And then, so what's nice about this key obviously is like this orb. If used efficiently, if everyone moves into melee, these orbs can just like nuke every pull. I love how you're riding your old KSM mount, and then at the end of the key, you're going to get your new KSM mount. It's fucking glorious. Good judgment. I would open with a shield there to get the silence, especially if you're moving over. Also, that Avenger shield you just threw right there should have been thrown at a caster. So the one thing about Paladin that makes them very, very strong is they have so many kicks with Avenger shield, right? Every time you throw it, it's gonna either blink at silence, which means that it's going to it can't cast for 3 seconds, or it's going to interrupt the cast that's being casted. So what I typically do on my Paladin when I'm doing this pull specifically is I go left here and I go into this pack and I throw a shield at the Sorcerer. So it'll be silenced and it'll run over here, and then you can stack everything up nice and easily. So the thing is here, you came in here, you opened with a Judgment, and then you kicked yourself, like meaning like you used Rebuke, and then you didn't throw a shield at the caster, but the Marauder instead, who isn't a caster at all. And what ends up happening now is that this guy is just going to stay out here. It's really hard to see. This Sorcerer is just going to stay out in Africa here, or Asia, whatever you want to call it. And now you're not getting efficient cleave. You're not getting orb damage onto him. You're not getting your CDs, your damage onto it at all. So making sure you're knowing which mobs are casters and keeping them as stacked as possible. All these like little skeletons over here, they are not casters, right? So you could have easily just like threw something over onto this side and then had them walk in, and then you could have kept everything nice and stacked. But yet this Sorcerer is just like out here. And you're in a pug. No one's going to run out of here and kick. Now in a pre-made, you could have someone go out and kick or blind or CC or whatever it might be. But in this case, it's just he's hanging out. Now, one thing you did do a nice job, though, is making sure that the Marauder, which is a frontal cleave, big aspect of tanking, any kind of frontal mechanics, was always facing away from the group. So here he's like hitting you in the back, still hitting you in the back. You pop Guardian of Ancient Kings, and now the Guardian or the Marauder is facing away from the group down towards the wall here. And even when you start kiting away, you're making sure he's facing the wall, which is good. Most DPS don't position between the wall and the enemies, so it's partly in the DPS. Oh, right here though, the Marauder padded around you, and now he's facing your group, so that's a little scary. You got the kick here, and then you face him away, which is perfect. Not in the res arrow. When you see these types of CDs down, I know a lot of hunters are like, it's fine if they run out because they still have the buff. Try to keep your enemies inside of the, you know, cooldowns on the floor. Treat it as like if this is your consecration, like make sure you're trying to stay in it if possible. You did notice that this guy was free casting, so you finally got a shield over there. But this could have happened a lot easier, and this guy could have already been dead. So right now you're wasting time. It's single target. It's not enjoyable, but that's okay. It's not a fortified week. Also, your Serve Hunter is just fucking pumping. Bone Carvers by themselves. Again, 2-target cleave, a little not great. You could have probably pulled, especially if you committed Guardian of Ancient Kings, you could probably pull a little bit bigger. Especially with the orbs up, you could have been a little more efficient with this pull. Again, though, this was a 3 chest, so I can't really be too harsh. And then, yeah, for the most part, I mean, you're hitting most of your stuff. You're sitting on Ardent, which is fine. Your guys are going to get the Woe skip at 68% is what you need to go up. That's great. And you're just going to go into boss. That's perfect. Dude, look at all these weapons. You have 3 spears, orb. Ooh, bad. Bad, bad, bad. Why did you do that, Scrubbin? This doesn't matter. It's useless knowledge. You have the orb right here. And then you ran, and then you picked up this orb. F, dude. If I'm not mistaken, maybe I'm wrong, maybe they changed it, I'm not sure, but it used to, basically if you picked up a weapon you already have, it just got rid of it. It just like didn't exist anymore. So typically at this point, like at least when I do this key, I have someone else in my group pick up the orb if I'm holding an orb. Also, the strat that I use for keys though was definitely different. Like the strat that a lot of groups do is they use the orb earlier in a bigger pull just to like capitalize on the damage and the silence. You could pull more casters with it essentially. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe maybe I'm wrong, but, and also it doesn't matter because the season's over in 6 days. Getting down, trying to get down CDR here, which is good. Is always typically the play. Some groups do Vi here, but if you have short cooldown bursty classes like Serve Hunter and Arms Warrior, is super good. All right, so here you're going to want to make sure you're kicking the mages. So I see you targeting X mage here. You're throwing an Avenger Shield to silence it, bringing it in. Great. So one thing that is weird about your UI, it's really hard to see like what the name, like what they're casting at. Like look at how small this name is. Shoot at Lucideer. And that's something I'm going to notice later actually in the Necropolis. I'll point out too. It's kind of hard to know what things are pointing at. Really good job there. So Turn Evil actually works. You could cast Turn Evil on that crossbowman, have him fear, then you don't have to worry about killing him. You don't get extra stacks, or the boss doesn't get extra stacks, so you actually take less group damage. This also works with things like Blind, Paralysis. You can spam Cyclone if you really want to. Frozen Trap. What else? There's probably some other that I'm missing, but CCing those guys isn't always a bad thing either. And luckily you have things like Turn Evil in your toolkit, so you guys are going to get a second set here. So one thing that you're doing too is like you're making sure that the boss is kind of always facing the same direction, which is typically good because you want your melee DPS to be behind the boss more often than not, but just don't be too sporadic with your movement as a tank. It makes it harder. It actually is a DPS loss if your melee have to constantly be trying to get into melee range. And it could really fuck up like frontals and stuff. So you're doing a good job so far doing that. You're a little spurgy with moving back and forth as a paladin. So you need to RP a little bit more. That's my suggestion. Yeah, so like here is fine. Like you're using your shit on CD. Like you've been using Judgment and Avenger Shield, but there are some pulls where you like forget to hit Judgment, which is kind of bad. Frost Bully going off here. This is when you're looking for that shield proc. You could also Turn Evil this guy, but you guys are tunneling, so it doesn't matter. In higher keys, of course, you want to make sure you're consistently doing the mechanics, bringing stuff in, kicking stuff, all that jazz. And on to the Necropolis. Necropolis is always real good. All right, so here, first things first. Coordinators available. Avatars available. Adrenaline Rush, doesn't matter, rogues are shit. You have 2 major CDs that are ready to go. Yet you opted on just pulling a CDR relic with 2-target cleave. Naturally, this hunter's going to send them, it's fine, like if he's sending them, but when you notice that your group has like their majors up, it's better to pull big, and then you can come back to Again, this information doesn't matter because the season's over in a week. But get the cooldowns on cooldown, come back for the CDR, then you can go back and do a big pull. Instead of going for CDR first, and now you're going to have to go do a big pull without cooldowns, and then back into another big pull with cooldowns. Like it not super efficient, but again, it's a 15, so it's nothing crazy. This hunter's fucking insane. Parts are coming in, that's fine, because you have this patrol that's waiting for you. Yeah, that pull's always super. It's so awkward, like the 3-target and 2-target cleave. It just feels bad. That's fine. It looks like you're kind of checking where the patrol is. You guys didn't get a CC on it. You could have obviously kept it there to do like a really big pull with orb, which you guys still have access to. Oh, right here. This is bad. Don't do this. Look at where the collector is and look at where you're keeping the soldiers. Classes like Hunter need to have a frontal cone, and arms warriors and rogues want everything nice and stacked. You want to try to keep mobs as stacked as you possibly can, and right here, keeping them fucking 10 yards apart, this is not great. It's harder to move the collector, so you want to make sure you're moving the easier mobs to the mobs that are a little bit more harder to move. Like a collector who's, you know, casting Throw Flesh, which is an uninterruptible cast. They're also doing Drain Fluids, which is... You can kick that, but it's still very difficult to move them. So soldiers on top of here. Looks like you're trying to inch over to get ready to do this, but there's no rush. And you're actually making it slower by pulling these mobs off. So you're just going to go right in. Trying to pull them back, which is interesting. This is an interesting choice. I would have just pulled the soldiers over since the harvester died. There's no reason to kind of pull back and then get them in a weird spot. They ended up stacking up nicely here, though. You get the orb going. And so you use the orb once and it's gone. So you don't have a second orb now because you picked it up, which overlapped the orb and just deleted it. So it would have been better for like someone else. You could have typed out like, hey, someone else pick up this orb and use it when I tell you to. Now, me personally, I'm a hypocrite because I would never do that. But I have a bad problem with like I don't tell pugs what I'm doing at all. Throw Cleaver. Do you soak this? It looks like you moved to soak, which is good. This is, I mean, someone has to take the damage there unless you guys are going to keep stun chaining it. So that's fine. And then you have this patrol here, which it looks like you're going to end up doing, and you're going to wait for this pack last. I can't see. That's the other thing about your UI is it's very difficult. Maybe it's different for your screen because like, obviously like I'm on a different monitor. But it's very difficult to see what cooldowns are available because I can't tell like the timers on them. If you can, I would get numbers to pop up. Pulling the Stitchwork is good. Collector's naturally going to run a little bit over before he starts casting Throw Flesh. That's good. Again, keep the stuff on top of the Collector. He's hard to move. This is the priority targets. Now Spear missed, so they're going to have a more difficult time doing damage to this guy. Good stack here. You're mitigating fine. You had Iron Bark out, so you're not over. And then you pop Ardent on Iron Bark. Not great. You don't want to overlap these CDs that much. I would have waited a few more seconds for Iron Bark to disappear. But fine nonetheless, and then you're holding out some of these other cooldowns for the next pull. Does it show all your debuffs in this like thing, or is it only showing it down here? So it looks like you're looking at your Tenderize, your physical damage taken. I wouldn't worry too much about that going in with 7 seconds left. Like you're going to have Divine Toll. You're going to have a Avenging Wrath. You haven't Divine Tolled yet after hitting Wings. There it is. It's a little late. Looks like you're fine. It's weird because you're playing Blessed Hammer, honestly. Again, keep things on top of the Collector. Like keep all the other mobs on top of the Collector so it can die and get efficient cleave. That's like one big thing that I've noticed, obviously like been noticing throughout all these full pulls is you're pulling things away from the Collector and then you're having to worry about like people having to run over to kick it, or you have to now target it with Avenger Shield. If you keep it nice and stacked, it's very, very easy to control. Look at how quickly that shit dies too. Boom. All right. You're almost done through this key. That rogue pumped that pull. Wow. Putting down a Consecration on one side for threat and then coming to the other is perfect. That's exactly what I would do. That thing ran at Brawn, bro. Thing was hunting it down. It's good. Not soaking. Opening up, checking your achievements, of course. That's naturally what you want to do. See how much gold you made. So one thing here is, okay, so this is what I was talking about earlier. It's very difficult to read this name, and like it's hard to see what he's targeting in your like on your like unit frame. It's obviously targeting the rogue. The rogue has something like evasion, and you could bop. Very great, two great things you can do here. It looks like the rogue just ends up popping evasion though, and I don't know if you noticed that or if the rogue, or if you just like didn't know you could bop, but you could bop there and then your DPS doesn't have to kite. Did you end up soaking this? It looks like you ended up soaking that, which you didn't need to do. I couldn't tell though, because you took no damage. But also this assistant didn't lose any health. Yeah, so throw cleavers in between. It's aiming at this assistant. Yeah, you definitely ate that. It's fine that happens, right? But to optimize that, now the assistant's a little bit high. You're in execute range now, and it should fall over pretty easily here. All right, not bad. Drop Consecration before. You have Blessed Hammer. You now have 3 Holy Power starting. You should be Shielded Righteous. Perfect. And then you want to Ardent Defender here early to get some like Because, yeah, so you want Ardent because when you Ardent, like, you're going to extend it by spending Holy Power. So now you have Divine Toll available. You use Divine Toll before. You just want Ardent up. The name of the game, at least in this season, was just, like, Ardent uptime all the time. Hit Ardent on cooldown, Divine Toll, spend as much Holy Power. You're getting reductions on your Avenging Wrath. You're getting, it obviously, extensions on Ardent Defender. So that's, like, my one big critique. If you ever notice that you're getting a little squishier, in hierarchies, you just want to try rolling that CD on CD. You do have 3 stacks. It's falling off in 5 seconds, so it's good. This part of the dungeon always slows down a bunch. And I think you guys are going to have your first Death of the Key on this pull, actually. So one thing that people don't know is that Rotspew, he has an aura around him, and you can see it here. This debuff. This debuff is the same thing as the stuff on the floor, and it doesn't double dip. So you can actually stand in this. If you're already in melee range taking the damage, it's fine to stand in this pool on the ground. There's no reason to kite from it. So if there's ever like a big CDs on the ground, like if you see a bunch of Rain of Fires and Earthquakes or whatever it might be, you just stand there. So Spew Disease goes out, kills your warrior. He could have spell reflected it. That's what killed him, was the Spew Disease plus the 3 bursting stacks. Because right before this goes off, 1, 2, 3 burstings. So he took a tick of bursting at 2 stacks. You guys rolled to 3 at reset. He's dipping down to 30%. He has Die by the Sword available, but it's not going to be good enough. And then he doesn't spell reflect. It might have not been available because I think he spell reflected an earlier one. It's a 25-second CD. So, yeah, you asked in the footage, like, oh, I don't know why he died there. It was a Speed Disease cast. That's what ended up killing him. And then Rotspew should go down nice and easily. And you guys are cruising. The positioning on this is, oh, you teetered off to the left a little bit. You want to try to keep the creation centered so it's easier to hit the spear. Your DPS knows the fucking assignment. He moves over, back against the wall, of course. Ooh, you were real close to that creation. You almost got hooked there. Keeping things stacked, you're going to lose threat here because of spear and no MD. You have double MD and neither of them did it. That was a quick taunt back, and then you're just keeping these nice and stacked. It was beautiful, though. It killed the Relic really quickly, which is really nice for some classes because you're able to use a lot of abilities fast, like Mortal Strike, for example, from the Arms Warrior. They're able to spam that shit. You guys have a pretty good burn. Now the second hook can go at stage. As long as it's the first creation that's still up, you aim it at stage, the boss jumps away, and then you hook him down immediately. So that's what this guy did here. I don't know who it was. I'm assuming the Hunter probably had that knowledge based off of the other guy's IO. Second creation is scary. It did get a melee on your Druid from healing threat, but it's going to be fine because that creation's going to go down. Stitch Flush is sub 20%. You guys have full CDs. You guys have so many weapons going to the last boss. Very interesting hook. Again, this is going to be just a rant that it doesn't matter. So see where this hook is facing? It's facing this way, right? Out towards this wall. The person who gets fixated should put themselves in line with this line here. So the Druid is running out like this way to the side, and the hook almost missed Stitch Flush here. You can see, so he's running a little bit to the side there, and it almost missed it. You obviously want to interrupt that cast as much as possible, but even if it did go off, you can always bop the Druid. The Druid can come back in, do melee and stuff. Sub 5%, he doesn't jump away. So you guys are set. You guys are in the clear. He won't do his escape, and then you guys kill him in time anyway. So, GG. And then this last fight's kind of interesting. You guys do it fine. You're just like, you just guys yeet spear on pull. Like, double spear, double hammer on pull, and you guys get him down to like 50% in the first like 10 seconds, which is nuts to me. I don't remember if you guys do it right away or if you wait for to come out. So Frozen Bine's being cast on Chicken Nuggets. He doesn't spell reflect here. Double spear still available. One hammer's gone, one spear is gone. Just want to watch your feet. Always drag away at this point. There's no, it's better to play it safe than sorry. Let your DPS keep hitting the boss and stuff. So that was good there. Because of how many melee you have in your group, I would actually tank this in the middle of the room, not at the side. Ooh, the Cloak of Shadows. No, not Cloak. That was an instant. Oh, wait. What happened here? Frozen Binds goes off on the Druid. The Druid shifts out to Dispel. And it roots all of you guys. So he dispels you, the Rogue cloaks. So fun fact. You can freedom that. So you can see it, look at who's it's targeting. In that case, it was targeting your Druid. You could put Hand of Freedom on the Druid before the fast cast finishes, and it makes them immune to the root, so it just doesn't go off ever. And there's a really cool macro setup you can do for that as well, and I'll probably leave that in the description of the video once I get around to it. And this is why you don't want to tank him near the side, is because you have 5 people in melee. It's very hard to keep uptime. DPS can't comfortably move around the back of the boss. It's just very, very deadly. Also, when the DPS come back up from downstairs, they're going to run to one of these corners, and depending on how long they take down there, the pool might actually just clutter this area so much. So you want to leave your DPS have options to be able to run out to either of the corners and have room to move around the boss. So the positioning, most of your positioning throughout this entire key has been fine. There sometimes on the bosses you're taking them kind of like the first boss and this boss kind of in a weird spot. But again, this positioning is fine if you had 2 casters, but you don't. You have a full melee group. Especially because your Researcher is actually trying to kitty weave, which is incredible. But like right here, right? Spear goes down for the warrior. Everyone has to run out because you don't have room around the boss. The positioning depends a little bit on your group comp. So you would have freedomed here on the rogue. Rogue gets bound anyways. No Cloak of Shadows. The spell comes out late. Okay. Yeah, for the most part, good. You could have probably used Guardian Age of Kings a little bit more in this dungeon, but again, it's a 16, so it's hard to justify using CDs if you don't actually like need them, right? Sometimes you're just not taking enough damage. Prot Pally set is really, really good at single target. It's really good at just holy power generation and having uptime on your Shielded Righteous. Paladins are pretty tanky as long as you're in your concentration. You guys have 37 seconds to get that 2 chest or 3 chest. 1% remaining. Boss goes down. And congratulations, my dude. Last minute KSM. Literally like last night of like the last week. In fucking incredible, my dude. In fucking incredible. All right. That was the full run. Not bad. Not bad. I'm gonna like just write out some notes here. If you guys noticed anything too, feel free to say it in Twitch chat. I see all you lurkers. Judging me judge people. Is that what's going on? All right, so there's a few things. Here, we'll do this. Good things, bad things, banned things. Boy, banned things. What's going on? I can't spell. Bad things. Things to improve. Don't play with warriors. Yes. Just because I'm a formatting whore. We'll do this. We'll do this. And okay, great things. Great things you did good on. I feel like it's easier to. Is it easier to start with good or with bad? I feel like it's much easier for me as a person to like pick out all the little flaws that everyone did. Yeah, don't play with me. Don't play with warriors, man. Warriors are traps. Okay. Okay, things you did well. For the most part, your like general positioning was fine. General positioning for bosses and trash. Okay. So, like, sitting on cooldowns is something you could definitely, or no. Things to improve sitting on cooldown. I don't want you to improve on sitting on cooldowns using CDs proactively. Is proactively one word, or does it have the little hyphen? I feel like it has the hyphen. Maybe I'm wrong. So something like that you kind of struggled with in this key was like using Wings and Ardent and Guardian like more often. Also, choosing better talents, not Blessed Hammer. Casting or spell priority. Priority being you definitely want to prioritize your Avenger Shield. Avenger Shield, Judgment, and then like your filler. What's the filler? Like Hammer of the Righteous. It's just like for damage. Also like proper Avenger's Shield targeting, i.e. casters. Routing and pacing were fine, I would say. Like it was it was a fine route, like good woe skip, nothing too confusing, very straightforward. You optimized weapons. But again, that's not really like tank related, that's more like dungeon related. I mean, your concentration uptime was great. Like it wasn't 100%, but it was like probably I couldn't find a log for this key, but it was probably what, like 95 maybe. But even then, like when you did move out of it, you'd reposition, or it was just like at the end of a puller there's a caster or something like that. Also your Shield of Righteous uptime. Shield of the I'll just put solder uptime. plus 4 set or 2 set. 2 set uptime was great. I think you had it up most of the key obviously before pull. Something you were doing properly but isn't proper because of Blessed Hammer was like your Blessed Hammer ramp, or Holy Power ramping. Blessed Hammer HP ramp pre-pull. Holy shit, I can't spell pre-pull. So those are all things you did correctly. Like you were doing the generic rotation correctly. Obviously running Blessed Hammer isn't great because it's just like not the right choice. It's that it doesn't have a synergy with the 4 set or 2 set, but your Holy Shield does. So running Holy Shield over that. And I think that's going to stay true for next season because we're still keeping our 4 sets. We're going to have higher secondary stats, just like all the good stuff. Anything else outside of don't play with warriors? Oh, your like group CD tracking could be better. All right, so I think that pretty much sums it up. Good things. General positioning for bosses and trash was mostly good. You had a few issues on like 1st and 4th boss, but outside of that, most of the time you were aiming frontals away from the group, which is always good. Oh, that's something to improve on. Just like keeping things stacked, keeping mobs stacked. That's it. Position good, keeping mobs stacked is bad though. Okay. Your routing and pacing, fucking Gucci. Consecration uptime, setter uptime with plus 2 set uptime. Oh, great. Very good. Like you have the fundamental aspects of Prop Paladin down. Things to improve on. Don't play with warriors. They're trash. Using your CDs proactively, there was a few times where you were sitting on wings, you were sitting on Ardent Defender, you were sitting on Guardian. Now, obviously, Guardian of Ancient King should be used for a specific reason or a specific pull. If you're going in and you're doing like a massive pull, you can pair that and accompany it with like with wings and your Divine Toll and stuff, just to be a little bit tankier while trying to set up a pull. Or later in the pull when you run out of things like Divine Toll and Ardent Defender and whatnot. But outside of that, just like be a little bit more aggressive with your CDs. Obviously, not running Blessed Hammer is going to be big. Your Holy Shield will give you just more damage, more healing, and it'll help you focus more on actually having a good spell priority, which is something that you didn't focus on too much. So your priority should always be Avenger Shield when you get resets. You should always be Judgmenting on cooldown, followed by Hammer of the Righteous as a filler. Proper Avenger Shield targeting, so make sure you're aiming them at casters, especially when you're setting up a pull with multiple casters in different areas. We saw that right around this area here, just to recap quickly. Let's see if I can find it. So this area, right? So like this is the area where you want to open with Avenger Shield because you're going to get things silenced, stacked up quickly. Your DPS will love you. You'll be happier since you'll actually be able to hit everything. So again, don't throw it at the Marauder, throw it at the casters. Don't aim your back towards mobs like this. Dude, he just gruesome cleaved your back. He chunked you to half health. On a tyrannical week, dude, if this was a forward week, you would have just fallen over. Okay, and then keeping mob stacked. I think that's pretty good. I think that's our general list of everything that went right and wrong. Overall, though, good key, and congrats on KSM, my dude.